Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from RotoWire here for the Saturday Week 13 NFL player prop. Point spread maybe? And DFS show. Waiting on good friend John Ryan from gambling.com to come in. Hopefully John's going to join us. I know he has a really busy schedule. So I will start the show, and if John comes in, we'll patch him right in and get you those NFL winning picks that John loves to give you. Look, if you're here, I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us today. And if you could hit that like and subscribe button if you're on YouTube, it would be greatly appreciated. And if you want a couple days free behind the paywall at RotoWire, go to rotowire.com/right. No credit card needed. Just an email address. We get you set up for a couple days, see what we're all about. Think you'll like us. I'll be on Sirius XM Saturday and Sunday, Fantasy Sports Channel 87. Saturday, be on from 1 to 3 Eastern. Sunday, be on from 8 to 9 Eastern. Join you there. All right, I'm going to talk some props. VSK, thank you. I'm going to answer a couple questions before we start and see if John comes in then. So how do I see the Eagles-Titans game going? So the Eagles are a fairly forward-thinking team, and they have the ability to win at the run, basic ability to win at the pass. No doubt Goddard certainly doesn't help them. The Titans are what we call a pass funnel defense, and they are lights out against the run. They are exceptional. Now, the Eagles' offensive line is great, and they can run, pretty much at anybody. But the weakness of the Titans' defense is their secondary. They simply can't cover. They're number 31 against wide receivers. And so they also can get some pressure rate on you. And so we got to consider that as well. So when we look at this with the pressure rate, well, what are they going to do? Well, Denico Autry is out, and he's a defensive end for them. And that's a big deal because he's one of their players that helps bring the pressure off the edge. So remember, they lost in the offseason, they lost Harold Landry. And so this just doesn't help them. I mean, their interior line is great. I think the Eagles come in looking to pass. And believe me, A.J. Brown has an axe to grind this week. He knows he's probably very frustrated that the Titans just let him go. I'm sure he's happy he's on the Eagles, certainly. But the fact that they just dumped him, and that probably did not sit well with him. So talk about a guy who's looking to light fire to a team and who knows their personnel. Certainly talk during practice about ways to approach and attack them. And we'll talk about him in a bit. So I do think now we do have questions with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a good passing quarterback, but he is not an elite passing quarterback. His dual threat abilities, what really makes him special. But I think this is a very attackable matchup. On the other side of the ball, the Titans, look, their identity is real simple. They're going to run the ball. And if you overload to stop the run, they will give Ryan Tannehill shots. Remember that Green Bay game when he went for a whole lot of yardage? That was him being on against a defense that said Ryan Tannehill beat us, and Ryan Tannehill beat them. Now, the problem with the Eagles is the Eagles can decide to put an extra body against the run because they've got Darius Slay and James Bradbury, and they are not worried about Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. So that is a bad matchup for them. So I think ultimately the Titans will have some success on the ground. And you can get what the Eagles do. They'll run is bear front, put 5 guys up front. And the second level isn't very well protected. So running backs get past the first line of defense can turn to a big gain. Derrick Henry can have a couple of big runs here without being consistently successful. I think the Eagles do have enough offensively and enough defensively to keep this game where they want. But remember, it's the Titans are so well coached, are so battle tested. I think that there's a great chance that they're getting like 4.5 points. Vrabel keeps them close. They very rarely get beat by many points. So I would likely say that the Titans are going to cover, but the Eagles are going to win. And then next question, can the Jets upset the Vikes? Well, I don't think it's that big of an upset if they do. Honestly, the Vikings, they have a great record, but the Jets got past their quarterback now. Zach Wilson's out. They'll be a different team. Now, Mike White, he had the dream matchup. The Bears don't rush. The Bears can't cover. The Bears were down players. And the secondary ended up being out 3 of them by the end of the game. So we can't really take that game as anything definitive. But what we can say is this, that the Vikings are without their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw. It's a few games now with a concussion. He is an elite lineman playing at that level. And the Jets are great against the run. They have a good pass rush. They have great corners. This is a bad matchup for the Vikings. If Kirk Cousins can be under some pressure, now Justin Jefferson will get his. I know Sauce Gardner's out there, but they move Jefferson all around the place. So Jefferson's going to get his damage done. But I think this is a very bad spot for Kirk Cousins, and this is not a great spot for Dalvin Cook. So and now in terms of the Vikings defensively, you could dump the ball off on them and have success. You could quick hit them. They don't have good corners. Cam Dantzler's been on the IR. It would not surprise me at all if the Jets won this game. And VSK, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Just happy you're here. Thank you. And then, Tannehill, see, the thing about Tannehill is in that Green Bay game, it was all single coverage. There were no extra players in the secondary. He was on that day. And basically, once his receivers got one step on the inside, he was making that throw time after time. He can do that. He's an NFL quarterback. He's not like a career backup, right? So he can make those throws. It's just not consistent with those. But now he's facing really, really good corners. The Packers have technically good corners, but they play so soft. All right, let's get some. Oh, here you got. I'm going to get some player props here now, as I promised. So, first one. Look, I'm going back to the well. We had 4 bad beats last week. Anyway, cry about it. The process was right on all of them. Latavius Murray had this play where nobody touched him. He ran for 50 yards. He would have been under. He's going under 55 against the Ravens. He's been under in 4 of his last 5 games. He had that dream 52-yard run against Carolina last week. It hasn't happened all year for him. It's not going to happen here. Baltimore hasn't given up more than 30 yards to a lead running back since week 7. Roquan Smith makes a big difference in their run defense. And Latavius Murray, look, I've said this, he is washed. There's no question. He other than that 50-yard run where nobody blocked. They blocked it up. Nobody got after him. Nobody touched him. He is less than 3 yards a carry other than that one run over the last 5 weeks. And those big runs are not there for him. And I think Mike Boone, if he's activated, Mike Boone's going to take a role in this game as well. So under for sure on that one. Next one, Matt Ryan under 217 pass yards. Now Ryan has gone under 214 in his last 2 starts against Pittsburgh, who has a good pressure rate because TJ Watt was back. Not for the whole season. They don't, because Watt missed most of the season, but they have terrible corners. Then they played Philly, who has a decent pass rush and really good corners. Well, now Matt Ryan is facing the Dallas Cowboys. And here's the big deal. Well, first of all, Ryan is hyper sensitive to pressure. He completely implodes. And Dallas, obviously, as an elite number 1 per PFF pressure, we don't need them to tell us that. We see it every week. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, they've got a number of guys that'll bring it at you. And right tackle Braden Smith, he has been the one strength and pass blocking on that line. He is out. And look, I love Michael Pittman. But the Dallas corner, this isn't a downfield passing team, right? And with the pressure they're going to get, Dallas is going to get physical with him. So he's going to get a few catches, and Michael Pittman will get some PPR love. But I just don't see – there's a broken player, too. We saw with Matt Stafford when they had an over against Dallas. It was like the flukiest plays. And fluke plays can happen. When you bet unders, one fluke play kills it. But Matt Ryan, if he plays game 10 times, 8 of them, he's going under that yardage. Now, Dallas also – I mentioned their pressure rate. Per PFF, they're number 5 in pass coverage. And so this is no joke. This is a terrible, terrible matchup for Matt Ryan. Next one, we talked about A.J. Brown earlier. So his over, and I'm going over, is 77.5 yards. Now, Tennessee, we said earlier, they're number 31 against tight ends. Now, Brown has played 4 bottom 10 defenses against wide receivers this year. He has 155, 69, which would have gone under this number, 95, and 156. So in 3 of 4 games against the worst pass defenses against wide receivers, he's gone over the number. Tennessee is the 2nd worst in the league, and I mentioned earlier, he knows this team during game plan. He certainly talked to the coaches about ways to attack them. They're going to need him because Tennessee stuffs the run. Tennessee can't overcommit to the pass because if they do, they'll get run on. So we've got that. So A.J. Brown over. And the last one is Patrick Mahomes over 308 yards against the Bengals. Now, Mahomes has sailed over 320 yards in each of his last 6 games. He is completely on fire right now. But some people are going to look back and say, well, look, Cincinnati in the second half of that playoff game last year, they took him away by dropping 8. Yes, it was the Tyreek Hill version of the Chiefs. The Chiefs set it up this year to be ready for that scenario. Teams dropping too many bodies in coverage. They have so many players now who can win in the short area of the field. That is what they're looking to do. And so they can be successful at that. The patience is going to be there. Mahomes has shown it. And then occasionally, if the big play's there, he'll take it. Remember, Chidobe Awuzie has been out for a number of weeks. He's the best corner Cincinnati has. Cincinnati's schedule has not tested their secondary at all. Now, Cincinnati hasn't given up 300-yard games, but listen to these three quarterbacks they faced recently. Ryan Tannehill, 291 yards. Kenny Pickett, 265. Jacoby Brissett, 278. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, a little bit of a grade above those guys. And look, I know that you think you might be able to run the ball and say, DJ Reader's back. DJ Reader changes that whole script against the run. They're still going to need to throw the ball. So what else do we have here? Let's got a couple questions, and we'll do some DFS. Remember, if you're on YouTube, please smash the like and subscribe button. And look at Twitter, give me a follow at Jim Coventry NFL. All of these props I'm giving you, I give you all the breakdown of these on a thread that I do. I do a thread on Saturdays. During the week, I do player trends, one for running backs, one for wide receivers, often one for tight ends. You can get those. I give those trends out so you can kind of see the lay of the land. It helps you with prop betting. It helps you with fantasy lineups, helps you with DFS, gets you all there. All right, let's take a couple questions, then we'll get to some DFS plays for today. LC, what are my thoughts on the Chargers-Raiders game? Prop for Keenan Allen for the over. Yeah, so Keenan Allen, his snap share, I don't have it right in front of me. I think he went from 44 snaps to 57 snaps, so he's moving up. I do think there's a great chance he's a full-time player. Now, they played the Raiders in week 1. He got injured, I want to say 20 snaps into that game on offense. He already had 4 catches for 66 yards. He was a clear focal point against the Raiders. I expect the game plan to be similar. When they pass, he is the number one guy. Again, I expect nearly 90% snaps this week. So we should see him in the 65 range. This game should be high snap volume game. So I definitely think that works. Now, look, it's a divisional matchup. Now, the week 1 matchup was a long time ago, so the teams may not necessarily take a lot from it. But what we can look at is the fact that the Raiders, Josh Jacobs, look, last week it was legit. It was a legit game time decision with his calf. Then he runs for 200 whatever yards, a couple touches, has a huge day. Now, he's legitimately questionable again, but he's practiced this week. So it sounds like he's playing. And the Chargers are one of those 3 run defenses that are just horrific. So if he plays, it's not like the Raiders are going to grind the clock with the run game. No, it's going to be explosive run plays. So they're going to move the ball, and the game's going to move. And the Chargers are going to have to keep up, and they will. And it's going to be on the arm of Justin Herbert. I don't think that they want to lean into the run as a way of attacking. The Raiders are much better. They're average against the run, but they're very attackable through the air. So I do think it's a game about Justin Herbert, which means Keenan Allen is going to get fed in this game. All right, what else do we have here? DJ Duvernay, Alexander Madison just got dropped. Feel like he's one of the stronger handcuffs. Don't have Cook. Would you grab him over Henderson? Definitely over Henderson, because I look, I don't know if Darrell Henderson is better than JaMychal Hasty. Honestly, I don't. Sean McVay did everything to get away from Henderson for a couple of years. He'd play him. He would try to get him to the bench, lighten the snaps. Never felt he could stay healthy. So I would say that over Henderson, 100%. And then Cooks has been hurt over his career too. VSK, thought on the 49ers Dolphins. So this is going to be interesting. What we're looking at in this 49ers Dolphins game is 2 coaches that know what the other coach does offensively, because obviously Mike McDaniel coached under Kyle Shanahan. So they know a lot of the same things. Here's the biggest deal in that game between Miami and San Francisco. The Dolphins are without both offensive tackles. Now, Austin Jackson on the right side is not very good, but this is going to be a downgrade going to a sub. But the loss of Teron Armstead is huge. He has been an excellent pass protector. And Tua's had a favorable schedule in a lot of ways. When Tua has been pressured, he struggles. And now, the 49ers, you have to play zone. Man's not even an issue when you have Tyreek Hill. You can't really – you certainly have some snaps you're going to play man, but with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Wild-Speed, you can't play man against them. 49ers will play zone. But what they like to do with Tua is they like to have him have these quick reads in the short and intermediate area. Fred Warner is not just an amazing linebacker. He is a genius. He reads and reacts so quickly, and he gums up those passing lanes. He always knows where the plays are. He studies. He's a genius. He's an incredibly talented player. He's an elite player, and that is going to make the middle of the field problematic. And Nick Bosa is having an incredible season, and without both tackles. And the 49ers are getting one of their defensive tackles back. I remember it was Eric Armstead. I can't remember which one, or Javon King. I can't remember which one of them is back. That's huge because it frees up the linebackers a bit more. Those two on their own, they don't have like the statistical impact, but they impact the guys around them. I think Tua's under a lot of pressure here. I think it's going to be very difficult to get the ball out. Now, look, Tyreek Hill, here's the only thing. We know this. He catches one pass, he gets away from the defense, and he goes. Anytime Tyreek Hill can score a touchdown, anytime he touches the ball. If they play this game 10 times, 7 games with the tackles out for Miami, he is going under that number. The 49ers are going to bring a lot of heat on Tua. It's not going to be a big passing day. So I would lean the under. But like I said, the caveat is he's Tyreek Hill. He always can make a big play. LC, man, thank you. Appreciate you. All right, let's give some DFS plays here. So these are recommendations. Some of them are isolated players. They're not all with stacked players I'd like you to consider. I'll give you the why. I'll give you quick ones on this. So if you're playing, you can make your own rational decision. Justin Herbert, I'll give a DraftKings price of $7,200. He has 3 touchdown passes in each of his last 3 games against the Raiders. I mentioned it earlier in the show. Game plan-wise, they are most likely attacking through the air. Jimmy Garoppolo against the Dolphins, $5,600. Now, McCaffrey apparently is off the injury report. Debo apparently is set to play. Miami is what we call a pass funnel defense. I talked about this earlier. They are phenomenal against the run. 49ers are going to see they have the Dolphins have a very attackable secondary. They're terrible. So it's another one of these teams. You have a lot of these teams that have identified what they are at this point, right? And the yards after the catch are the way to get to the Dolphins because the Dolphins need to get pressure. But the whole 49ers passing game is predicated on getting the ball out quickly into the hands of Debo or McCaffrey or Ayuk or even Kittle. And so I think all of these weapons are in play this week. And I think there's a lot of yards after the catch. I think Jimmy G could have a big game here. Don't even care if there's rain. If there's rain, it's better for the 49ers. It's a short passing game, right? They're not going to be dialing it up downfield all day. Jimmy doesn't typically do that. Takes the occasional shot. Trevor Lawrence against the Lions, $5,900. Multiple touchdowns in his last 2. Detroit really overachieved against the Bills. They're getting better. They are getting better defensively. But I think after that game against Buffalo, even though they lost, I really think they really left it out there. I think they're not going to be as amped up to face Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is really growing as a quarterback, making better decisions. Nick Chubb against the Texans. Now, this is tough because I think that Deshaun Watson going up against his former team in Houston, and look, I don't like the guy, but we're playing football here, so we got to talk about football, right? The Texans, we know, are the worst run defense in the league. Houston obviously had plenty of issues with Deshaun Watson. They were alienated by him before even the incidents and things like this. So I think their goal is they don't want Watson to look good. So they not that they can stack the box anyway, but Nick Chubb against the worst run defense in the league, he could have a banner game. Now, honestly, if they're using him in the run, Watson still can get it done through the air. If he throws 20 passes, we could see 3 like major long plays off play action. So it could work for everybody in this game. Now, there's a lot of emotions in this game. So understand that. So there's a lot of game scripts this way could go. Aaron Jones against the Bears. He scored, I believe, 2 times against the Bears earlier in the season. He blew them up as a runner and a receiver. He scored in the last 3 games against the Bears. He has had great success against Chicago. We keep saying Chicago weeks ago traded away Roquan Smith, and they are just down people, right? And so Aaron Jones, and look, Aaron Rodgers, if he's not 100%, Rodgers certainly is going to throw, but he's not going to throw all day. They're going to go with a running back heavy approach against a Bears team that can't really do much of anything. So I don't think they're going to expose Rodgers going into a bye week to unnecessary hits. But they could also get it done on 20 passes too. David Montgomery, same game. Look, Montgomery seeing a lot of work. Khalil Herbert's out. Now, Darrington Evans was in that last week. But Montgomery, early in the season when the Packers were at full strength, 122 yards on them against the ground. Packers are a weak run defense. They'll use Montgomery in the passing game as well. Montgomery is 6,200, good cheaper play. Look, I mention this guy every week, but Kyron Williams is 5,200. He has his first easy matchup. He's had some tougher matchups. He played 77% of the snaps last week. He had 11 carries and 3 targets. They have to use him. Him and Akers is all they've got. The John Wolford's at quarterback, which is actually better than Bryce Perkins, I think. So I do think Williams could see a lot of action as a runner and a receiver at 5,200. We don't know quite what he is yet, but I think that unknown variable in a tournament, you don't play him in a cash game, but in a tournament, you might be able to consider that. And then A.J. Brown at 7,000. I talked about him plenty earlier in the show, so wheels up on him. Keenan Allen, had a question about him earlier, so we won't talk more about him. He's only 6,500. I would expect him to flirt with 10 catches in this game. And Amari Cooper. Look, I talked about Nick Chubb, but apparently Cooper was like living right by Watson. They were working together. Cooper mentioned the chemistry between them is already good. It wouldn't take a ton of targets. And they're going to throw some. They're not going to just run. They're going to throw. They want to get Watson involved here too. So Cooper, without a lot of opportunity, he could really get things done. Brandon Ayuk, 6,100. I talked earlier. We're Miami. Pass funnel defense, Jimmy G, yardage after the catch. This could be the game they attack through the air. And when I get to tight ends, I'll just do it right now. George Kittle's also. If you want to really have a cheap triple stack, you're going to go with Kittle, you're going to go with Ayuk, and you're going to go with Jimmy G. And for the run back, I almost would go with Jalen Waddle because I really think the 49ers are going to be the most concerned with Tyreek Hill. So I think this could be one of those games where the secondary receiver ends up having a little more opportunity. Garrett Wilson is a potential play at the Vikings, 5,300. Again, Minnesota, shutdown run defense, very poor in the secondary. They've been without Cam Dantzler for a few weeks now. And so we definitely think that Garrett Wilson could play. And look, Christian Watson, I mentioned Aaron Rodgers earlier, but we're seeing that Aaron Rodgers could throw the ball a low amount of times. I know Jordan Love hit Watson for a touchdown last week. It's 5,200. The Bears are without Kyler Gordon. They're without Jaquan Brisker. They're without Eddie Jackson. Oh my gosh, 3 of their top 4 secondary players are down. They get no pass rush. Watson could easily have 2 long touchdowns in this game. So there's that. And then back to tight end, Foster Moreau. If you're looking at that Chargers and Raiders game, Chargers give the 3rd most yards to tight ends. And Moreau has 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, but he's been targeted in the red zone in all 3 of those games. He has a floor. He's getting a few catches, 30 to 40 yards. But if he gets the end zone, then he cashes for you, right? And then Pat Freiermuth's only 4,300. Atlanta gives up 5.5 receptions a game to tight ends. That's 3rd in the league. And he has definitely been a player that we've seen Kenny Pickett being willing to target. Defenses, the Jets at the Vikings. If Kirk Cousins has an implosion game, 2,600, that could end up really well. And the Steelers at the Falcons, 2,600. They're a good run defense, so that's going to take away some of the strength of the Falcons. And TJ Watt could really put some pressure. I know he's battling with a bit of an injury. As of right now, he's expected to play. If he plays, I think that's really bad for Marcus Mariota. So we've got that. Before we get to the last couple of questions, if you're watching on YouTube, please smash the like and subscribe button. And if you want a couple free days at RotoWire or behind the paywall, you just need an email address, not even a credit card. Go to rotowire.com/try. All right, VSK, do I see a potential shootout between the Lions and the Jags? It'll be interesting. The Lions offense is one of those tricky ones, right? They're not explosive. When they trail, they're very good at putting points up. And so this might be one of those games where it goes 24-20. I don't know that either team is going to jump out to that lead to push the other team. Both teams are okay running the ball. The Lions are fine handing it to Jamal Williams. And Travis Etienne's supposedly healthy, and they're fine running with him. I still think that Trevor Lawrence gets it done through the air, but I don't know that this game is going to be super high scoring. There's always a lot of game scripts, but it would seem that this is one of those games that looks like it's high scoring, but somebody's got to push the big lead. And I don't see that here. All right, what else we got? MSA, thoughts on Devontae Adams. So this one, Adams, he was sick like 3-4 weeks ago, and he had that horrible game. I didn't realize he was sick until after the game. I was told that. But he sails over that almost every week. Brandon Staley's been pretty good about taking away top options in pass games. He's a good coach. He has his issues, but he's done a nice job of that. And so that yardage total, it's about where you'd expect it, right? And playing the Chargers, you think wheels up. But this one's 50-50. I see it as 50-50. Adams can go over it anytime because he's Devontae Adams. You get him 15 targets, yeah, he'll eventually get there. But does Staley take enough away where Derek Carr goes elsewhere? Or do they run the ball well? And so this was true 50-50. This is one I probably wouldn't bet. VSK, Nadia, do I have a favorite? You know what? Growing up, I did when I was young. But when I got in this business, I became objective very quickly. It's like I love all 32 teams. So I don't have an NFL team that it makes me more objective. I think it makes me a better analyst. But yeah, no, I just love good football. And so unfortunately, I don't have a favorite team anymore. A lot of favorite players, Rod, you know what? I can see what you're saying, right? It could be, but I think the strengths versus the weaknesses really just set up too well. Matt Ryan, hypersensitive to pressure. Braden Smith, the right tackle out. The Cowboys are going to get after you every week. And offensively, I think they're still figuring some things out. I mean, Zeke Elliott's still pushing back from injury. He should be fully healthy now. I think they're still trying to figure some things out. And look, they're behind the Eagles. And they know if you don't win the East, if you don't win the East, you're the 5 seed. And so it could be a trap game, but man, they don't have the luxury of losing a game. Because if they lose right now, if they win, and let's say Tennessee knocks off the Titans, which is very possible, December 24th, I think, that's when the Cowboys and the Eagles play. That game is for the division. And so the Cowboys can't afford it. And the Cowboys had extra rest, and the Indies had a short week here. They played Monday night. And so, I totally could see the point for a trap game, but I don't think Dallas has that right now. I think they have to, their goal is a Super Bowl right now. All right, everybody. Thank you. I'll be on XM at 1 to 3 Eastern on channel 87. If you happen to have that, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll do my live sit stream Sunday morning, 11 Eastern, 2 hours before the early slate kicks off. Be happy to answer any questions there. Certainly don't have a favorite team either. Exactly. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we will talk soon.